want to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and that is everything wrong with ARPGs today. Because I think ARPGs are focusing too much time on content that most people who play your game will never see or will be able to experience in its fullest, and I think it's a shame. I think we're going about it the wrong way. And they're saying, hey, you got to do the act system. You got to do 1 through 10 or 1 through 5 or however many acts or story chapters you have. You got to do that until actually getting to the fun part of the game. And that, I think, is the wrong approach. I don't think acts should be removed entirely. Like, I was thinking about that initially, but after I thought about it, I was like, that's kind of dumb. I think it should be something that's, like, simultaneous. So, for example, let's use Path of Exile because they have a pretty thorough endgame system. You have maps, you have Uber Labs, you have Delve, and I don't know if there's been any other endgame like content that has been added to the game since I stopped playing however many years ago. But you can then add story, the act system, acts 1 through 10. Because there are some people who would like, or who like doing the acts, who like the acts 1 through 10. They think the world, the level design, they have some of the like really good areas in there that they just like going through every time. And then there are some people who just want to get straight to the map system. And you know how you have like this big trailer saying a revamped map system, adding new content, changing it and making it better, and all this other features that you will never see unless you're one of the hardcore people, or you like because in a casual pace it can be very slow getting there. The casual perspective of people who like to read the stuff every time, they like to enjoy the content that developers make, but if they do that and every time that they play the act system, which some people do, they either won't reach the map system until like 30, 40, 50 hours in, and they might not even reach it at all. You might say, oh yeah, I played it for about 30, 40 hours. I didn't really get to the map system. I was getting burnt out. I've done this so many times, next 3 months from now, I'll try it again. 3 months after that, I'll try going through the system again. It becomes monotonous. It becomes linear. It becomes boring. There's a lack of freedom. Freedom of choice. Like the freedom to actually progress in the game the way you want to. So, imagine a ARPG. I'm not saying Path of Exile necessarily will do this or should do this, but I'm talking about another ARPG. Imagine they create an act system, and that'll have its own progression system. Let's just say we're doing level 1 to 100 as the default. We're not going to say 150, 200, 300, anything like that. We're not going to do any crazy progression there. But let's say they do 1 to 100 for the story. How would you do that? Well, let's say the act system is 1 through 60. But once you beat the story, the whole world in the act area, like the story area, changes. So you go and fight certain bosses, and that unlocks the second tier of the story area. So the bosses all around that area become harder, the enemies become harder, and then you do the next set of bosses, and they could be random on which ones they're going to be. You go do that, now you unlock the next system. This is just a very simplified version of it. Obviously someone, when they're doing this, would figure out how to do it better than me, who's just giving this very surface level examples to give you a general idea of how the progression could work. Then you do the next set of bosses, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, however long it takes until you get to the final tier. That now has a beginning system that'll take you from level 1 all the way to level 100. And then if you come up with a better way to do it, then you revamp it. Kind of like how Path of Exile has been revamping the map system for however many years, on and off. So now you do a map system. And that'll be a way to go from level 1 to 100. So you can start maps right from the beginning. So if you revamp the map system, you can experiencing that right from the beginning. You don't have to go through 10, 20, 30, 40 hours of content before you actually get to the things that changed. Allowing them to dive into the game mode right from the beginning, increasing the amount of total players that will try out your game, increasing player retention, increasing the overall money the game will make, and thus building upon the franchise, building upon the IP. More money means more resources can go into the game, theoretically, or spin-offs of that game. You know, that level of I want to support a good game gets better when the game allows me to play the parts of the game that I like. You know? I think that's one of the reasons why I've been enjoying open world survival games as much. You have a whole bunch of different things you can do. And if you look at, let's say, Oblivion and Skyrim, you know, you have a short little tutorial area, and then you can do whatever the heck you want. You want to do story? Go do story. Want to do side quests? Go do side quests. You want to max your alchemy as the first thing you do, so you haven't even begun the story at all, really, and you're already level 100 at alchemy, and you're rich as heck. Get the best armor, or the best potions, at the very least. Maybe not the best armor, but you're really good. And then maybe you go to enchanting, smithing. Next thing you know, you're like really freaking, like, you have a lot of like levels in there, and a lot of really good gear. And then you start the story, and the enemy difficulty level is higher because they balance around your level. A lot of different ways you can play that game. You can start it off and just start going right to the quest and progress that way, and the enemies won't be as terrifying as if you're, you know, have a whole bunch of levels and skills and your actual levels like really high. Different ways. Adds to the replayability. Same thing with ARPGs. If the ARPG, if an ARPG can offer me that right from the get-go, that's probably going to replace Grim Dawn as my go-to ARPG. Simple as that. You know? Other potential ways that you could add to the freedom. Maybe instead of having to create a bunch of characters, what if the class you pick, what if that class can be changed on that character? So let's say you change your character, or change your class. So let's say you pick the Necromancer. Well, now I want to play as a sorceress or sorcerer. You pick that class and you start playing with that, but your level starts over. Whatever character or whatever equipment you have equipped to your Necromancer gets stored separately and gets put in there until the next time you equip the Necromancer class. All the stuff in your inventory, all the stuff that you might have in like storage areas, then you can grab upon to level up your sorcerer. Same character, you don't have to exit to the main menu, and then you can build upon that. Now you might be thinking, well, why would you do something like that? Well, maybe a way to make it interesting could be if they incorporated having multiple classes leveled up to provide synergy. You know, say, okay, I got to like level 50. I have a bunch of different passes on my Necromancer. So that way, if I were to switch over to, I don't know, let's say a shaman or a druid that has like another pet build. So now there's synergy from the minions aspect on the Necromancer that is going to help that pet build. And if there's another pet class, let's say you get the shaman to a pretty high level, and then you go to another one, there could be synergy there that can help make your overall character stronger through passives. And that could be fun, especially if the game is balanced around that. You know, now granted, I don't think this would be a league game then. I think it would be like a Grim Dawn style of game where you just pick up the game and play it when you want. So let's say you say, okay, you know what, I'm kind of done with the game right now. I'm going to stop. And then like 9 months later, you pick it up again and you just continue where you left off. Because there's two different types of games you can play. Games that have consistent leagues and games that don't. That might get new content after like an expansion. There's all these different ways to tackle it. I don't think the ARPG has really seen the full potential of what it has to offer. Like Last Epoch started offering some really good systems in place to balance trade and solo self-bound. And I really, really like that aspect. So that's them taking something, further. That now that you start thinking about it, it's like, okay, what else can we do that can overall change the game for the better? Like the genre. Improve upon it. And, add to the replayability, give us better games, give us better content to play and put hundreds or thousands of hours into. And that is basically what I want to talk about, because I do think the current formula with the act and story system is a huge barrier to entry for the genre. More specifically in ones where you have to do the content over and over and over and over and over again, because every 3 months or 4 months there's a new league or season or cycle. Grim Dawn, the reason why that is my go-to ARPG is because there are no leagues, there are no seasons. I can pick up and play whenever I want. I don't have to worry about, I want to play Grim Dawn, but 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now there's going to be a new league and my progress is going to be reset. Okay, I really don't feel like playing. No, I just pick it up and play. I don't have to think about, everything's going to be reset in a couple weeks, or I'm late to the league or season. I don't have to think about stuff like that. That's the reason why I go to play this game. So, that's different ways you got to approach it. Leagues or no leagues. And that could be how you decide which direction you go. I still think that they should have all the end game content access from the beginning in its own form of progression that you can take from level 1 to 100. That's just the way I think, personally. And then maybe when you focus on a new game mode that comes out, people can play it right from the beginning. Anyhow, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. If you guys have any ideas or what you think could help improve upon the ARPG genre, let me know. Put them in the comments, because I always think about how my favorite genres can improve and get better. And I'm sure you guys do too.